Hello, Mr. Expansive here, yes. I want to talk about, a feeling I get, because this feeling is about as extraordinary as the feeling I would get knowing something that is the answer, but you can't put a name to it. It's better if you are just almost silent to that extent. Trying to word it in a certain way without implying something that could or could not be necessary. I don't know. But all I do know is that this feeling I want to discuss is a certain feeling of doing something that you can't really change out of what is already there and doesn't need to be changed out of the realm of what you're trying to do, which wouldn't make any difference. You want to change something out of what is already there, right? That feeling of back and forth where you are one way where you want to change, and then you go back and you realize, well, it's always been like that, so there's no reason to have to go back and change something. Knowing that this is what it is and it always has been, and there's nothing you can do about it, you go back to thinking, okay, we really can do something about this, right? And there's something about that. There's something about giving into the illusion, right? Talking about, not being hostile or indifferent when that is the basis. They're one and the same, so it's just as inevitable as loving, and it's the easiest route. It's the nature of things. But this is what it all stems from. So when you really look into it, it's very, very interesting to have to go back from that feeling onto the other one, back and forth. Kind of like when Alan Watts would talk about that I'm the only person that without anybody else, without me, nobody else would be here. So I feel like a god, but then on the opposite hand, if I didn't have them, I wouldn't be here. So you go back and forth, and that's really the same thing I feel when I go back and forth, When you know that we create our own fear, when we create our own problems, because it's instinctual. We have a tendency to want to create things difficult for us. It's like if you were to turn on the hot water, not think about turning on the cold water, because it's instinctual. It's kind of like just something that just we are geared toward that. We are naughty by nature. That one hip hop album. So I just thought that was interesting, going back and forth, that we are all sinful in nature, aren't we? So this is it. What we're dealing with right now always has been. Let me do a recap, though, again about the plus before I quit this shooting of the video. What that means, if you want to know the answer, what you have to know is that two things must grow. Imagine the universe being the seed, hell being the roots, and the tree being heaven, right? The universe is the seed, hell are the roots, and the tree is heaven. And they both go together. It took the seed to make it grow, right? So, when you look at the negative that makes something go, really, it's basically two positive and negatives that grow off each other. But what is it? Something about the negative. And when you put two negatives there, they both grow. That could only happen through if you would figure that you would forget that they are the same, and you would focus on the illusion. And then after you would focus on the illusion, you would try to get back to how it is all the same, like how it always was through the illusion. So by doing that, a negative is a positive, but a negative is what made those lines expand through forgetting about how it's the same. But again, I will say it again, through the illusion you try to get back to what was the same when those lines expand. So it's a plus, but it's implying back to the lines because it shows on one. I refer to the cross of Jesus. The lines like this are the ones that are the same distance from each other. The game that's not so serious, that they're the same, but you got diversity, right? Heaven, hell, they're different because they're so far apart. Now, even through that, diversity gets shown in what's the same. But this is the answer. You just got to pick at this answer. You got to figure out what the answer is. Because through the diversity, it even rubs off on the part that's the same. Because one happens to go left and one happens to go right. Now, you only know that because what was ever insecure below the secure, right, is just as insecure as the one that's insecure being secure. Because they're one and the same. They're evil opposites. They both go together. And you wouldn't know one without the other. So, by the plus turning from a negative, we know the plus is what made them grow. Then that's implying that the lines even out and they're not too long or too short. It's all the same. It's kind of evening out, telling you that it doesn't matter. It's all one and the same. This whole thing is just, it's something, but it's all the same. It's just, you are, you know. So figuring out who you are, you know, realizing that people teach you stuff, teach you how to grow, and accepting all of this, you start realizing I'm a loner before I have any friends. I don't call them friends, and it's not because I think they're less of a person. I just realize that this journey I have to face alone until the day I die. Because, and see, I'm gonna have to talk about this in my next video real quick about people who are alone. I'll talk about that in my next video I'm gonna make after this, because it's really important. But basically, I'm a loner before I have any friends because I want to face this alone. Alone is where you grow. And no matter how much I want to talk to somebody, I can't talk to anybody. Because, you know, I mean, you gotta ask yourself why you want to talk to somebody. You want them, you don't need them. Because externalization feels good, externalization. But see, it's not all bad. See, they go together. These opposites variate, so it's not, negative isn't all that bad. They just mix and match because they go together and they work together. That's it, though. I just wanted to talk about the feeling between trying to change something that you can't change out of what you think you should versus, I don't know if I said that right, versus what is already there and you have that other feeling. So, going back and forth. I've really figured out that a lot of people are mediocre and they haven't changed from who they are, and these people don't have to worry about their life because they don't have to go through anything extraordinary like people like me, because they're normal. Their minds aren't sensitive enough to new experiences because they're just somebody who's gonna work a humdrum job and just, you know, die doing nothing. They're just going to be some dumbed down person because they're so mediocre. And that sounds very mean from my perspective, but see, I'm so hypersensitive to everybody around me that I feel compelled to feel like, you know, they're rejecting me. You see? See how this is inevitable? But regardless, I know I'm a sinner. I still want to love everybody when my mind gets negative. I still want to love everybody, even if my mind keeps failing, because it's hard to. Because we're not prone to staying up like God is. God never got defeated because it believes in itself the most. But we are God. That's the sameness. But we all have the power to create the kingdom of happiness. But If you want to diversify it, you say, well, God is all the way up there. And God doesn't need to look after us in the sense that he's going to control us and enslave us, right? Right? Somebody who's secure doesn't need to be doing that, fully secure, but somebody who's insecure before they are secure, why do you think they're secure? They had to get another negative, killing people just to be secure. So they're trying to get power from not being in control, you see? That's what Satan wanted. He wanted power. He wanted to be like God. Well, these governments and leaders carry on that same role. Anyway, I sin all the time. But just know that I reset myself every day of love, no matter what my mind goes through. Because I refuse to stay bitter. When I feel my mind, you just can't give in to your negativity. You have to switch it and resist it. That's all it is. We're going to be sinful in nature. But you have to reset yourself and recharge your battery and just love everybody in this world. I show affection for everybody in my mind. That's hard, isn't it? Of course it's hard. Right? But, you know, but I've been changing subjects, haven't I? Anyway, this video has been carrying on. Oh, it's 11 minutes. Good. Alright, Mr. Expansive signing off.